I challenge you, Jason Aldean, to debate me. See if you can defend that blood-soaked flag. I will dissect your lines and demolish your hit song anytime, any place.
Welcome to the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show on YouTube and as a podcast. This is episode number 165 on September 14th, 2023. My name is Andy Zee. I'm the host of the show, coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Today's RNL show is a special program featuring the Revcoms, the revolutionary communists, taking on that fascist MAGA culture poster boy, country singer Jason Aldean. We opened the show with a short clip of Rafael Kadaris with members of the Chicago Revolution Club issuing a sharp challenge to Aldean in front of the Maury County Courthouse in Columbia, Tennessee, where Jason Aldean filmed the music video for his white supremacist lynching song, Try That in a Small Town. Well, Rafael and the Chicago comrades did try that in a small town, and they did so with the courage and the conviction of revolution, a real revolution, to put an end to this racist system spawned in the vicious inhumanity of slavery and enshrined in the founding U.S. Constitution, with life-stealing exploitation and oppression that continues down to today. And they did this to bring about a radically new and far better world through revolution. Here's some more of what Rafael had to say.
We are the Revcoms, and we're the ones who burned the American flag at Jason Aldean's concert in Tinley Park near Chicago. And right now, we're at the Maury County Courthouse in Tennessee, Columbia, Tennessee, the site where in 1927, hundreds of depraved white people lynched a young black man, the site that Jason Aldean chose for his fascist lynch mob anthem, Try That in a Small Town. Jason, you said that people who burn the American flag should try that in the small town and see how far you make it down the road. Well, we burned that rag at your concert, and you didn't say shit. TMZ, the New York Post, the LA Times, Daily Mail, Fox News, and others, they covered it. We had plenty to say about what we did, and you? No comment. Well, I'm here to give you another chance. Since you love that flag so much, Jason, let's see if you can defend what it really stands for. Slavery, theft of land, genocide of the native people, imperialist war. Now, normally, I don't debate fascists, but I'll make an exception for you because you're going around the country touring, spreading an open white supremacist lynching song, a rallying cry for civil war, and it needs to be answered. Meanwhile, all too many people who should know better are standing on the sidelines, sleepwalking while this fascist anthem goes to the top of the charts. And most of all, because I know we do not have to live this way, that a real revolution and a whole different future is possible without white supremacy or any form of oppression. That this revolution could be wrenched out of the very dangerous times that we're living in now, if people wake up and get with the Revcoms and take up the roadmap that's being provided right now by the revolutionary leader and architect of the new communism, Bob Avakian. For all these reasons, I challenge you, Jason Aldean, to debate me. See if you can defend that blood-soaked flag. I will dissect your lines and demolish your hit song anytime, any place. And one final message for Jason Aldean. You said, try that in a small town. I'm taking you up on your challenge right now. Will you take me up on mine?
No more lynch mobs in and out of uniform. No more standing by while good old boys prepare for civil war. We need and we demand a whole new way to live. We need to and we are getting organized for a real revolution.
Rafael and the Chicago Revolution Club comrades drove through the night to make this statement, with searing pictures in their minds and in their hearts of those who were lynched over decades and of the thousands murdered by the police today, and everyone who suffers under the brutal oppression of the system we live under. They did so, as Rafael said, because we do not have to live this way. Rafael Kadaris is a key contributor to and correspondent for the RNL Show. He is a serious revolutionary for the emancipation of humanity, and as such is a follower of the revolutionary leader Bob Avakian, whose work and leadership are at the core of this show. You will be hearing more about Bob Avakian through the course of today's program, and you are going to hear from him from the extraordinary interviews the RNL Show did with him last fall. Today's show is going to tell the story of what the Revcoms did in Chicago and yesterday in Columbia, Tennessee. Aldean's song is the anthem right now of a fascist movement that is fighting to take full power in this country. These fascists need to be defeated, and defeated through masses of people fighting to change the whole system that spawned them, through a real revolution to wipe white supremacy and all forms of oppression off the face of the earth. Through the story of what the Revcoms led in opposition to Jason Aldean's MAGA tour celebrating the bigotry and the cohering and forging of a fascist hardcore, today's RNL Show will bring to life the sharpening stakes for the people of this country and for the future of humanity. And with this, I want to welcome the co-host of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show, Sunsara Taylor.
Great to be with you, Andy. We're going to get into why Rafael is challenging Aldean to debate. But as Andy said, we're also going to get into what this has to do with the whole direction of the future, including putting a challenge to all of you watching or listening right now. As Rafael said, he was calling out Jason Aldean's #1 country hit, Try That in a Small Town. Not just because this song is shot through with racism and the threat of good old boy white supremacist mob violence, but because this song and its popularity among millions and millions in this country concentrates the whole direction that this country is being rapidly dragged in by the fascists in and out of power. This is moving fast. It is shaping up for a decisive turning point in the 2024 elections, if not sooner. Meanwhile, the decent people in this country are going along pretending like this is not happening, wishing things would go back to normal, which is never going to happen and was never any good to begin with. It is precisely in the midst of this madness, of this rare situation where the norms of this country are being ripped apart, when the rulers are at each other's throats and events are accelerating, that a real revolution is not only more necessary, but more possible. This is the penetrating and far-sighted scientific analysis that Bob Avakian has made and laid out in important works like Something Terrible or Something Truly Emancipating, which you can find at our website, revcom.us. But this will only become a reality if growing numbers of people wake up, cast off illusions and delusions, and get with the Revcoms in taking up and fighting to apply the roadmap and the leadership that BA has forged to make this revolution real now. This will only happen if the Revcoms have been getting out the message broadly among the people, shining a light on the deeper reality of what is happening and why, bringing out that there is an alternative to living this way and struggling hard with people to break with all their wrong ways of thinking and get with the revolution. Actions like the ones the comrades took in Chicago and Tennessee this week are a big part of shaking people awake and drawing forward the thousands we need now to become millions tomorrow.
If what you see or hear today inspires you, if it speaks to you, if it shakes you awake, now is the time to connect and to contact and work with us, the Revcoms. Make no mistake that this fascist MAGA movement is aiming to take power, and they are determined to crush any and all opposition to them. You saw that on January 6th, and you see and feel that in the crowd filling stadiums to see Jason Aldean. They are blatantly racist, anti-immigrant, women-hating, anti-LGBTQ people. They are determined to plunder the environment, and they are filled to the brim with anti-scientific lunacy. Yet, on the other hand, the Democrats have no answer to this other than to rely on the institutions of this system, like elections and the courts, which enforce, as Sunsara said, the normally oppressive way this country and this system operates, plundering the people and the earth. On the RNL Show and everywhere we go, including at the protests at the Aldean concert in Chicago, we are bringing the proclamations. We are the Revcoms, the revolutionary communists, and we need and we demand a whole new way to live, a fundamentally different system, which call on the people to get organized now for an actual revolution. They are essential documents for you. We need and we demand a whole new way to live concentrates that whole new way to live is expressed in the Constitution for a new socialist republic in North America. And in this document, there are 6 key points from that Constitution that are radically different from how this society functions today. You need to get your hands on it, and you need to help us spread it. And there is no better way to learn about, to understand, and to feel that we could make a real revolution, and to experience the leadership we have, than in the Bob Avakian Interviews on this, the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. But for all this to happen, on the scale it needs to, requires a lot of funds. So tonight we're calling on you to join Rafael Kadaris and members of the Revolution Club for a live stream fundraiser on Sunday, September 17th, 2023, on this, our YouTube channel, YouTube, the Revcoms, at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Central Time, and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So with that, we want to back up a bit and share a segment from Rafael Kadaris from a few weeks ago on the RNL Show, where he tore into and exposed the danger and the significance of Jason Aldean's song in the first place. And after that, Sunsara is going to take us through the story of what the Revcoms did over the past week in opposition to this song from Jason Aldean.
Fascist country singer and wannabe thug Jason Aldean just released a new song, which has already gotten tens of millions of views, called Try That in a Small Town. This is a straight-up white supremacist lynching song, and it's a rallying cry for civil war. A lot of people have condemned it for being racist, which it is, but if you don't get the fascist political violence at the heart of it, you don't get where this is going. Let's watch.
Sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act a fool if you like, cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough? Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road.
See how far you make it down the road? Think about it. Jason Aldean is saying that people who protest against police brutality or burn the flag in opposition to this country's crimes should get beaten down or even killed. And he's unleashing his millions of followers to do just that. These people can't wait to just wipe out everyone they hate. Black people, immigrants, people who don't conform to the patriarchal gender roles, and anyone who stands up against this system. By the way, Jason, you lying MAGA moron, you cherry-picked a bunch of images to show protesters as violent and scary. But the truth is, the vast majority of violence during the George Floyd uprising came from police and fascist vigilantes like Kyle Rittenhouse. But you just want more of that kind of violence. As for trying this in a small town,
try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road.
Guess what, Jason? We did. Have you seen this map? And a lot of the protests in these towns were mostly white kids. That's right, your disobedient sons and daughters. That must really terrify you, huh, Jason?
A couple weeks ago, the Chicago Revolution Club followed up on this with a challenge to people to join them in standing up against Aldean's concert when it came to town.
We are with the Revolution Club Chicago, and we're calling on you to step up and stand up. This MAGA moron Jason Aldean is coming to Tinley Park.
Saturday, September 9th.
No more lynch mobs in and out of uniform. No more standing by while good old boys get ready for civil war. We need and we demand a whole new way to live. We need to and we are getting organized for a real revolution.
On the basis of this bold revolutionary message, they called forward others, new and old, to the movement for revolution, as well as people from different perspectives to join them in standing up to Aldean. At their press conference, speakers included Paul Street, the writer and historian who's part of Refuse Fascism, Theo Hardeman, executive director of the Violence Interrupters, as well as statements from the progressive Catholic priest Bob Bossy and anti-fascist organizer Rachel Wachstein.
So there's a preponderance of evidence that black women and black men have been lynched all across America, especially during the Jim Crow era, right? 87 years of Jim Crow, lynching, killing my people. I come off a plantation, my forefathers, direct roots to a plantation. And even after Jim Crow, our people were killed during the times of police brutality and excessive force. We must stand up as much as we can, people. That's why I will join the protest on Saturday with everybody, all right?
Trinidad in a small town isn't just another vaguely racist country tune. It's a flat-out 21st century lynch mob song.
Then, on Saturday, September 9th, the Revcoms and others marched through the throngs of Aldean's MAGA-infested fan base, right up to his concert, where they did precisely what Aldean insisted must not be done.
I burn this fucking American rag because this country stands for slavery, genocide, and war. The whole history of this country. Jason Aldean said try that in a small town when we did it at his fucking concert. That's right. No more good old boys. This is for civil war. No more good old boys. This is for civil war. You see these faces on these pictures? These are people who've been murdered by these fascist thugs in and out of uniform. This woman here was murdered in California for flying a gay pride flag in front of her shop. This shit can't go on unopposed. We're out here in the name of humanity.
It is highly significant that this action got picked up. It was the lead story Monday morning on TMZ. It got featured in a big way on the Daily Mail, one of the most read news sites in the world. Not once, but twice it was featured there. The second story they did embedded the full segment Rafael produced for this show to share with their entire audience to view. This story also got covered in the New York Post, the Huffington Post, the Los Angeles Times, and more. And much of this coverage didn't just say that the Revcoms burned the flag outside Aldean's concert, though they did say that. They also gave at least some sense of what the Revcoms are about, what we're organizing for. After starting out by saying Jason Aldean tried it in a big town and found out, the LA Times, for example, went on to link to our website, revcom.us, and point out that we insist that, quote, the existing capitalist imperialist system and its institutions of government in this country must be abolished and dismantled and replaced by a new socialist system based on the Constitution for the new Socialist Republic in North America, end quote. The fascist media, with the New York Post and Fox leading the pack, attacked Bob Avakian and the Revcoms, and we'll have more to say about that in a little while. But think about it. The fact that this simple action by the Revcoms got such coverage and stirred such controversy across this country is a reflection of the intense, fast-moving times we are in, when the whole direction of the future is being hotly contended. People are sharply divided, from the very top of society all the way down to the small towns Aldean sings about. The Revcoms encountered both sides of this polarization when they were down in Columbia, Tennessee. Afterwards, we had the chance to talk with Rafael and Leo when they were on their way back, stopped in Nashville, and they described some of what this was like.
You get the sense that, we don't exactly fit in this small town. Ralph put this challenge out to Jason Aldean. We get confronted by, some of these good old boys, out of uniform, who were antagonizing and, you know, fucking heckling us while we're trying to make this video. Yeah, they were saying all kind of shit. You know, they were saying, you know, throwing shots at us for being revolutionary communists, you know?
Okay, Martha, let him cut through, but you need to go back to whatever communist country you like. But don't.
And, you know, saying shit like, you know, Jason Aldean said, try that in a small town, you know, and, you know, taking it for the threat that it is, you know, for seeing how far people make it down the road. You know, even, you know, telling me, you know, to stop eyeballing them, you know.
And one of them was actually trying to rile up the other people in the town, saying, you know, are you just gonna watch them do this right here in our town? You know, we don't like your kind around here. I don't like the way you look at me. You know, this is the kind of shit that they were saying. And but you know, it wasn't all one-sided, because we also, once we started speaking and letting people know what we were all about, we had some people come out. One guy rushed out of the bar and was like, I support you. Another woman literally ran up to us with a wad of bills and said, I support your message, you know, and that I too organized protests in this area. And these good old boys started confronting her too. They're like, are you from this town? She's like, hell yeah, I'm from this town, you know, and I support them. It's very important.
Much love to that woman who came up and gave $99 wadded up in that little bundle Rafael talked about. So let's return to the action that they did and show a bit more of what those people down in Maury County in front of the courthouse were responding to from the Revcoms.
Since you love that flag so much, Jason, let's see if you can defend what it really stands for. Slavery, theft of land, genocide of the native people, imperialist war. So are you up for the challenge, Jason? Or are you just going to admit that you can't defend this intellectually and all you have is threats of violence? And why haven't you made a comment, Jason, about what we did at your show? Is it because every time you open your mouth, dumb, racist, ignorant shit comes out? You actually claimed that your song, Try That in a Small Town, wasn't pro-lynching, because lynching ended in the 1800s. Yeah, those are your words at a show in Alabama recently. Jason, are you an idiot, a liar, or both? Right here at this courthouse where you filmed your music video, an 18-year-old black youth, Henry Choate, was lynched in 1927. A white mob attacked him with a sledgehammer, dragged his body through the streets, and then hung him from the second floor. Just in this one small town where I'm standing, Columbia, Tennessee, at least 20 black men and boys were lynched or disappeared by KKK and white mobs. Yeah, the good old boys you celebrate in your song, Jason. Everybody knows what good old boys mean, even an ignorant fool like you. Today, it's not mainly the KKK murdering black people, it's the police. More black people have been murdered by police in recent decades than all those who were lynched during Jim Crow. Even after the murder of George Floyd and the massive uprising in 2020, it goes on and on. All this has been legalized and justified by the U.S. Constitution. The truth is, Jason Aldean and his country hit are not some aberration from America and its values. They are a grotesque concentration of the ugliness right at the core of this country since the beginning. As the revolutionary leader Bob Avakian put it, how can any decent person deny that we need a revolution to overthrow this system?
That's right. That's what humanity needs. A real revolution to overthrow this system. And that is precisely what Bob Avakian is providing the leadership for now. Last year, we had the chance to conduct an extraordinary 3-part interview with Bob Avakian on this show. These interviews are like nothing else. They bring you the whole thing. Why we need a revolution. Why this revolution is more possible in this time. What this revolution is for. These interviews shake up your thinking and they make you see things in a new way. And they give you a chance to see the integrity and the feeling for humanity that Bob Avakian has. He is hardcore for revolution and has incredibly wide arms with generosity of spirit and largeness of mind, and all of that comes through. And because the word revolution gets thrown around so loosely these days, and people mean radically different things by it, we asked him during those interviews what a real revolution is. We want to share his answer with you now. So you've dedicated your whole life, over decades, to making revolution and emancipating humanity. And I want to talk about revolution. It's a word that people throw around all the time. And people mean radically, very wildly different things when they use it. What is a real revolution, and why is that necessary?
Well, it's not a new variation of Charmin toilet paper. Okay, that's the first thing we can say. You know, it's not a change just in the culture, to be more serious. It means that you actually overthrow the existing system and replace it with a different system. That's what an actual revolution is. And yes, you know, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of people. I remember, you know, after I think it was Parkland shooting, you know, there was big rallies that were held, and one of the students from there, you know, got up to speak one of these big rallies, and the first thing he said was, "Welcome to the revolution," because there were, you know, large numbers, masses of people there. Well, masses of people are one important ingredient of a revolution. You don't make a revolution with a handful of people. You need, you know, millions of people ultimately to make a revolution. But the question is, what are those people fighting for? What are they aiming for? Are they aiming just to make changes within the existing system, or are they actually recognizing that you cannot bring about the positive resolution of all these different horrors that exist in this country, and we could go through them, but in the world as a whole? You know, you cannot bring about a positive resolution to that, an elimination of all that, within the confines of this system. That is another scientifically determined, evidence-based truth. And so therefore, a revolution means that you overthrow the system in order to, you know, bring into being a completely different foundation in how the economy functions, different relations among people that are not oppressive, a different culture that, instead of reinforcing all this garbage and oppression, actually reinforces emancipating relations among people and emancipating ideas among people, you know, and all the political structures also are transformed in order to serve the further transformation of society, to uproot all the underlying basis for all this exploitation and oppression. That's a revolution. Nothing short of that is an actual revolution.
You've now had the chance to see Bob Avakian in that answer. Even just in that one answer, you get a sense of the clarity and the power of what he is all about, and why the fascists like Fox News and the New York Post would attack him. No surprise there. They are outright fascists. But in a pathetic, yet sinister move, they were able to quote from what they called 23 leftist groups who themselves pushed scurrilous attacks on Bob Avakian and on myself and the Revcoms.
The communist group who burned American flags outside a Jason Aldean concert have been branded a cult and pyramid scheme by left-wing activists. The Revolutionary Communist Party, or Revcom, has been denounced by 23 abortion and feminist rights groups. They took issue with how the flag burners protested the overturning of Roe v. Wade last year.
In reality, these were not radicals or so-called leftists. This was a cabal of opportunist movement reformists and outright counter-revolutionaries. Not a word of their accusations about the Revcoms being a cult or a pyramid scheme is true. And their attacks smack of exactly the kind of counter-revolutionary rumors and lies that were spread in the 1960s against the Black Panther Party and others, which fed into repression, wrongful imprisonment, and even murder of revolutionary leaders. These attacks today are an expression of a movement that has given up on even the pretense of fighting to end oppression, and instead they attack those who are fighting while seeking flimsy shelter under the wing of the Democratic Party. And here they are, useful tools to the fascists with whom they share the same utter disregard for the truth and hatred of revolution. No one should be taken in by this. In fact, the opposite. This should drive serious people to look deeply into Bob Avakian, to engage his work, to take up his leadership and fight to defend him as we do so. So to close out this main arc of today's show about the Revcoms taking on Jason Aldean, we want to return to the segment that Rafael did originally on this show, where he puts forward a challenge to the decent people in this country.
To all the decent people who aren't trying to hold on to the good old days when good old boys ran the town, Native people were erased, and Black people and women knew their place, you need to face what is happening in this country. This is not just another racist country song. It is an incitement to civil war, and tens of millions of people are loving it. Right now, the society is more divided than it's been since the first Civil War in the 1860s. And these MAGA mobs are armed and itching for a new one and a fascist takeover, with the 2024 election very likely to be a key turning point one way or another. There is no going back to normal, and you shouldn't want to anyway. Instead of choosing sides in a new civil war, what we need are masses of people prepared to defeat these fascists as part of getting rid of the whole capitalist imperialist system which spawned them. A system which has white supremacy and male domination built into it, and right now is pushing humanity toward climate catastrophe and World War III. We've seen the potential for revolution in the powerful and courageous uprising of millions of people of all races in 2020. No, that didn't lead to fundamental change, because you can't end racist police murder with more Black cops and mayors and reforms and silly demands like defund and abolish the police. To end police terror, you need to abolish the whole system these police enforce and replace it with a completely different socialist system. If you've been discouraged, hopeless, turning inward, sleepwalking while this nightmare accelerates, that's unacceptable. The oppression that made you come into the streets in the first place is still there and getting worse, and there is a real way to fight it. So it's time to wake up and get organized, not just for an uprising, but for an actual revolution. To all those in small towns and big cities who have the heart to fight for something really worth fighting for, it's time to join the Revcoms. As Bob Avakian wrote recently, especially at a time like this, a time when big things are up in the world, affecting the whole future of humanity. When those big-time exploiters and oppressors who rule over us in this country are bitterly divided among themselves and increasingly unable to hold things together as a unified ruling class. When there is not just an urgent need, but a real possibility to seize on this situation to overthrow them altogether. If you are not getting with the Revcoms, the revolutionary communists who are working every day for this revolution, if you are not part of working to bring about this revolution, then what the hell are you doing?
All right, Sunsara, much respect to Rafael and the Chicago Revolution Club for what they did in the past week. Millions learned of the Revcoms, and people were put on notice that this shit's not going to go unopposed. This is what it means to put revolution on the map. And it's not over. Jason Aldean is touring the West Coast coming up at the end of this month, and he should meet more of the Revcoms and other people saying this isn't going to fly in our town. In addition to tonight's special episode, on Friday night, we're going to have a dispatch. We're going to be posting a dispatch on an article that's going to appear on revcom.us titled Allegiance. This is a very important piece that launches a national campaign. I'm going to just read 2 lines from the piece. It says, "No to this Republic of the so-called United States of America, with its blood-soaked red, white, and blue rag and the system for which it stands, the economic and political system of capitalism, imperialism. And yes, to a radically different republic and a much better system, a new socialist republic, a system which will move to abolish and uproot all this madness and give the highest expression to people's humanity and a future corresponding to people's highest aspirations." A national campaign to get this out and to take this out to the youth in the schools around the country whose future is at stake, the youth who are drawn, even compelled into ROTC. The ROTC, the youth who, if the proxy war with Russia escalates into a major war, will be drawn into being cannon fodder, and even worse, doing the dirty, murderous work of U.S. imperialism. This piece uses poetry, satire, and imagination to rip the mask from what is now a major obstacle to people getting with the revolution and to anything really fundamentally progressive. The major obstacle of American chauvinism, the disgusting notion that America and American people are better than other people, that American lives are more important than other people's lives. So look for this special dispatch on Friday night and discuss it over the weekend with people you know, with the Revolution Club, and make plans to get it out far and wide, and especially to the youth. All right, Sunsara, so that brings us to the end of this special show, episode number 165.
Now, before we say goodnight, we want to remind everybody Sunday, Rafael and members of the Chicago Revolution Club will be on this channel. We're doing a special, very important, very urgent fundraising live stream. You're going to hear from them. They'll share more of their experience there, what they learned, what they've encountered. And it's a key way for you to play a part in this revolution. Get your friends to tune in, spread the word. We need to raise, it costs money to get them down there and to build on this. It's going to take serious funds. So tune in and help donate and raise the funds. Oh, yeah, it's at 2:00 on Sunday. Oh, you're going to do that?
No, I wasn't going to do that.
Okay.
But you can do that. You can
2:00 Pacific time, 5:00 Eastern time, 4:00 Central time.
Yeah, okay.
There you go, 3:00 Mountain time.
In generally, we move in the reverse direction of the sun here, but
there we go.
From west to east. Okay, but one more thing here. This was a big deal what happened this last week, but it's just the beginning of what needs to be a rapid succession of big deals on many different fronts, from the mass saturation of the two proclamations that we've been speaking about on the show, to defending the people, building organization, mass defense organizations to defend the people from the attacks of both the government and the people, these thugs, these fascist thugs who are trying to impose their fascist agenda on the masses of people. So all of this is part of rapidly trying to accumulate and working to accumulate the forces necessary to make an actual revolution and to impact society so that millions of people are thinking about this. And one big part of that is this show. Every week we come to people and tell them the truth about what's happening, the real deal, what gives rise to all the problems we face, what's at the root of it, the possibility of revolution, what this revolution is, who the leader is, and what he's done, and that this is all for the purpose of emancipating all of humanity. But people need to watch this show, and this is a perfect week for you to get some people together. It's a shorter show than usual. Bring people into your house, bring people into the community center, spread it on the internet. Let's see if we can get a couple of thousand people to watch this show. And then from there, we got to build the audience geometrically over the next few months. All right, Sunsara, so it's time to say goodnight.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you back next week, and we will see you in the meantime with our dispatch on Friday and the live stream on Sunday.
That's right. So I want to thank once again the crew of the RNL Show. They did a great job tonight putting this all together. And we'll see you next Thursday night at 5 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So good night.